2025 Bar of DeMOCKracy. That's M-O-C-K. It's Friday night and we're doing it right. Normally we would have 3 topics and 1 guest. We wouldn't know who it would be, but actually we have kind of a fun format tonight because we actually have an international guest who's going to inform us about some foreign dealings that are going on inside the political system. But fact of the matter remains, it's Friday night and we're doing it right. We're only one way to know how to do it, and that's the fucking fam way. Y'all ready to meet the gang and smash the fash? Oh shit. How's everybody doing out there in Radio Land?
Hi, friends.
Well, good Lord, where to even start as far as, I mean, we've got, I suppose we need to go ahead and jump into the chopper hopper and find out what's going on because we got, well, it's looking a lot like both Benny and Vix are going to help us host tonight. So it looks like Vix is going to take care of our topics on the domestic side, and Benny's going to inform us as to some of the international relations that are going on in the country in which we both live, which is Germany. So what's your first topics?
God, there are so many.
Oh, the shit show of American politics.
Oh, yeah. Just full of distractions from the really scary Project 2025 shit. That's what they're going to throw at us. All the craziness that breaks your brain, that you're like, I don't even know how to process what I'm seeing, much less, answer it. Like, that's the stuff they're trying to distract us with so we don't notice that they're, chiseling out and, carving out our rights and freedoms. What are those distractions that you might say? Yes, let's brainstorm a few.
Let's.
Like what? The Gulf of America. Why are we wasting time on doing that? Making Canada a state. It's ridiculous. He's just throwing out the craziest batshit things, and they're not even creative or plausible anymore. We're in Trump 2.0, and it's a rerun, but it's a bad rerun where it's like we've seen it, but there's like a shitty filter over it, so it's like a little bit worse. It's just more of the same from his first term, but worse.
Oh, my Lord.
And I think it's hard to, for me at least, when you think logically, it's hard to, train yourself to be like, all right, the carrot's dangling. What am I not supposed to look at?
Exactly.
It's so easy to flip into that, into that, because what he says is batshit, and then it's like people start talking about it, and then you start talking about it because it's like, well, let's see if he actually did. If he did try to invade Greenland, well, then he'd technically be, attacking a NATO country, and then we'd be fighting Europe.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, use that logic. He knows this. He knows I think that where I've come to today, at least, especially for people who work in academia or academia jobs who, forget often that we're being distracted. When you start having that conversation of and I'm sorry I sound like shit. I'm getting over a cold, but when you start having that, oh, thank you. When you start having that conversation of well, he can't invade Greenland because then he'd be attacking NATO and he'd be fighting all of Europe, and then Canada would also be. It's he knows this. He already knows this, and I'm just as guilty. But we gotta stop it. When you start doing that thought exercise, there's nothing wrong with talking about, obviously, but if you're going to be talking about political commentary or, you know, election shit, like, you know, you got to realize you're being distracted, I think. And it's hard. I get it. You know,
well, we're so used to trying to make sense of things that are crazy that when things that are crazy show up, it's so hard for us to not want to make sense of it and realize that it's just smoke and mirrors. So it's almost like what we need to do is develop this almost Pavlovian response to when we see some sort of distraction to instantly go look at Congress.
Back up and go, okay, what's happening in SCOTUS this week?
Oh, you know what? I just made a short video about this. And maybe I should do it for like, it's not hard. Like, you hear, keep track of what's going on in Congress, and you think, I don't have time for that. Well, if you care about politics and what's going on, then you got to make time for it. And it literally can take less than 5 minutes. You just go, and in the video I made on the Library of Democracy, just like how you can, in just like less than 5 minutes, go to congress.gov, just gloss over what's going on the schedule, because they just give you titles. And if something sounds interesting, like, or not necessarily interesting, like, you know, something you should pay attention to, because a lot of Congress is a lot of formality bullshit, like, you know, making sure it's okay, like voting for Jimmy Carter to lie in state. That's like just like what they have to do. It's like formality.
It's like posterity.
Yeah, it's like that kind of shit.
Housekeeping.
So like you can literally go every day and just look at the agenda of bills that are being introduced, and if one sounds like, you know, HR 7, and it's a very short bill, so it appears very innocuous. But one point in my video is that if it's vague and it seems innocent enough, it's like that for design, because the vaguer something is, leaves more room for other states to be compliant within the law, which means they have broader room to test it, and they know we can't fight everything. Like, yeah, you can go to court, you can challenge it in court, but that takes time and resources that most people don't have. So sorry, I'm rambling.
Well, that's fine. I mean, in the end, it all ends up in SCOTUS if it's actually some sort of like, you know, test case anyway, which I can't believe fucking denied Trump for his sentencing. But then, you know, he
surprised too.
Well,
that was like, yeah.
Yeah, but actually, you sent me this leading into another topic that you had, Vix. And it was, I believe, let me take a look at. Yep.
Piggybacks off of what Allison was saying. Or which one did I send you?
There it is. The judge sets Trump sentencing and hush money case to Jan 10, but signals no jail time.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's how the AP News reported it. Let me tell you the horror story of earlier today. When I opened up my my computer and a little, you know, the little thing pops up. It's like what the weather is, and the MSNBC comes up, you know.
The dashboard.
MSNBC comes up and reports that Trump's sentencing is a triumph for the rule of law.
AP said that?
Interesting.
No, MSNBC said that.
Oh, MSNBC.
God, they're such trash.
Yeah. And I was like, in what way is the rule of law being upheld by the... And in the article itself, it admits, like in the middle of the article itself, it admits that this proves that he's above the law, because normally, you know, anyone that... And they called us lesser mortals in this article. They said lesser mortals would have gotten jail time. You're a news organization. We're all lesser mortals. Do you believe in gods?
Are they literally trying to
fantasy here?
Yeah, are they literally trying to say he's a deity without saying it? Yeah, without saying it.
Okay, you know what? I was gonna do this later, but
I
found this earlier today. MSNBC, this is for you. Oh wait, I got two of them. So you know, so you have a spare. Here you go.
And it wasn't op-ed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Like
remember. But Judge Mershon, thank you for showing us that you really, really don't understand that the law is truly supposed to govern all of us equally. Thank you for showing us your true colors, because now we see you for who you are.
Well, now we see literally just our legal system for what it is. If you commit a big enough crime and you play big enough victim, you can sway it. It just depends on how rich you are, and really, if you do have a cult that is going to call in any sort of bomb threat to any place that happens to,
Or go barbecue themselves outside of the courtroom.
Hey, that was a carbecue. You be proper about that.
There was no car. That was a sidewalk barbecue. Sorry.
Cybertruck, cyberfuck.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
No, I wasn't talking about the car. I was talking about that guy.
Oh yeah, the one dude that went to the trial. Yeah, that was crazy sauce on its own. No, I was thinking about the barbecue outside of the Trump Tower.
Yeah. Oh my God. So thank you, Judge Mershon, for just proving to us what we always knew, that the elites have one set of laws and the rest of us get crushed under the other set of them. Thank you.
What was it we were saying earlier, Allison? It was guilty until proven wealthy?
Yeah, but you know what? He knows all of this. I can't, on the devil's advocate, I can't say I blame him, because, I was talking about this with somebody, like, I'm afraid, because I work for the state, and I'm afraid that they're going to make me, not anytime soon, but take like some loyalty pledge or something. And while that sounds absurd, is it really that irrational of a fear? And then it's like, what do I do? Like, do I uphold my integrity? Or like, I'd lose everything. So, it's hard to, like, I get it.
I'm going to push back on you. I don't get it, because he had the levers of power to put that man away. He did the crimes. He was judged to have done the crimes, and anyone else in his position would have gotten years and years and years. He had the power to do it. He had every right to do it. He gave Trump every chance. And it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the man did what, it was.
Don't forget about
I'm not saying it's right. But
I'm saying I don't understand it either. He could have had a backbone. He could have stood up and he could have put that man away. But instead, he capitulated because he was afraid of what might happen should Trump take office. So he cleared the way for Trump to take office. Thank you, Judge Mershon. So that's my pushback.
What did you mean, Allison, when you said that you understood his mindset? Like, what were you getting at?
I get it. It's hard to do the right thing. If it was easy, everybody'd do it. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe I just expected it, so I'm not as upset by it, but, I'm not saying it's right.
No.
Like, clearly it's not. But, I get it. And there's only so much he's already taken, such a beating that, he probably just got worn down, and it's not right. It's not fair.
His family took a beating. Like, the amount of contempt alone would have thrown a regular person in jail. Just the amount of contempt.
Yeah, or revoked his bail at the very fucking least.
So we were just shown that, well, guilty until proven wealthy.
Amethyst Peony over in the chat says, even with no actual sentence, Trump said he will have Mershon imprisoned. That's your prize. You played a stupid game. You won a stupid prize for rolling over and letting fascism take hold. Guess what? You get fascism.
Every single time you try to compromise with them, you're just going to screw yourself. Because
they're going to take the mile if you offer the inch. and good faith, they'll take the mile and they'll grin over your broken, bloody body while they do it, or the body of your dead daughter because she was 12 and had an ectopic pregnancy that she couldn't get fixed.
There's a comic that I've seen before, and it says the left and the right, and they're both standing on stools, and they have nooses around their neck, and it shows the left is cutting the noose for the right, and the right is kicking the stool out from underneath the left.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's very poignant. in not saying anything, it says it all, you know?
Well,
that I don't know what that quote is.
Brevity is the soul of all wit. I don't
That's a good one.
I just know that, well, it's been normalized. So
I didn't think, like, you know, when all this was going on, I was, you know, like more in like 22, 23. I didn't think you'd get jail time, but I thought something would happen. And I thought something. And like he can shoot someone in Times Square, what was it, Fifth Avenue, and he can get away with it.
And he wouldn't lose any votes. And that's because he knew that he had a cult of personality.
What did I say earlier? He could shoot Joe Maga's mom or grandma, and Joe Maga would still vote for him.
Well, they'd be like, well, she deserved it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And, well, I suppose this going to really caveat into this little chat we had last night on the ladies' night, where now there's a faction of MAGA that has split from MAGA because they've been, for lack of better words, betrayed by the policy, the one policy that mattered to them and why they voted Trump, and that was through immigration. And then Trump turns his back on them and says, no, I'm going to side with the billionaires because Elon Musk is buying countries for lack, you know, how many times am I going to say for lack of better words? Just go ahead and take a drink every time I say it. It's fine. I'm just astounded sometimes. So I the words don't come out the way that I want them to because I'm just so flummoxed. How is it possible
I'm gonna get you
to just
for
buy
Christmas a better word?
Like he buys countries. Tell me I'm wrong. He bought our election. He's going to buy England's election by donating to Nigel Farage, and he's going to buy Germany's election. And we have our good friend Benny, who is he lives in the same country as I do, but he's native.
Tell us.
So welcome to the Bar of DeMOCKracy, Benny.
Hi.
So you sat in for the entire call between Musk and Vital.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the Lord's work.
It did not take long when Alice Weidel mentioned what was good about Hitler and what should be reinstated and something like this in Germany again. And this alone should be disqualifying for the German chancellorship here in February.
Shocking. Sorry.
Well, the thing, and she was trying to use the sophist technique that the right likes to use, where they say that Hitler was a communist because anything that's not a fascist that they agree with is a communist, but they can't be associated with Hitler because Hitler's bad, so therefore he had to be a communist. So, you know, how many times have you been in this argue with MAGA? And they always like, well, Hitler was a socialist, and you're like,
you know what's wild about the ALD? There's an actual flyer, and it's a white perfect Aryan looking family, and the parents are like doing, I don't want to do it because I don't want you to get kicked, but the parents are like raising their hands to form a house over the kids, but it's clear.
Yeah, it's clearly what those, it's not a roof.
Like, it, and I'm just like, wow. Has Germany, Benny, has Germany caught a case of, like, what we, like, the ridiculous, like, are you guys as fucked as we are?
Yeah, we get the Russian propaganda through TikTok.
Yeah. They are very welcoming the interference from Russia and China, but mostly from Russia.
And it's the same thing with it when it is with America too. Is when you point out that they're Nazis, you get all the smoke screen. No, we're not. We're a center libertarian party. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's it's just how it goes. And with her saying that Hitler was a communist, it was really interesting because did you read that article, Benny, that I tagged you in, where it said that it was the first time I'd actually seen written where they pushed back on that, where they said that this is a technique commonly used as a deception.
When did you send me this article?
I tagged you on the Discord. It's in the politics channel. But yeah, it was the first time I'd ever seen pushback saying that. Like, I don't know. You've been in Germany your entire life. How many times have you heard somebody from the right say that the Nazis were actually commies?
I can't remember hearing this.
That's probably because you hang around educated people.
Yeah, thank you. But I couldn't articulate it because.
Yeah, you're like, I can't. It's too stupid.
A lot of people think socialism and communism are like the same thing. A lot of people think socialism is like communism, and they don't really understand forms of government.
It's almost like you can use the ad hominem boogeyman at the time that you need for the conversation in order to just distract from the fact that if you're a right winger, you support fascism. You just don't want to be the bad guy. Like, that's the thing, is you want to embrace the bad guy, but you don't want to be the bad guy. Like,
yeah.
This is something that I discovered when it came to the hardcore evangelical base, whether it's with MAGA or just hardcore evangelicals. And that's the appearance of being a good person is far more important than being a good person.
Yeah, that's true. I can see lots of different
in Trump, which we see in Trump.
Well, with Trump, the whole big problem is that Roy Cohn was his mentor. And Roy Cohn was like one of the biggest pieces of shit of all time. But he taught him how to use plausible deniability in every single possible scenario so that he never ever has to admit guilt. He can always attack and blame it on somebody else. The more people know about Roy Cohn, the more Trump makes sense. But now we don't really need to worry about all that because the election's done and over with. Now what we need to be focusing on is how the billionaires have their boot on our neck. And that's a bipartisan issue.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, I mean, you listened to the entire call between Alice and Elon. What were some of the takeaways that you found were some of the more coordinated lies from American propaganda to German propaganda via Russia?
I wrote down a few things, but not specifically this
By all means.
what you
Yeah,
want
no
to hear.
problem.
But I in the few minutes I got I I wrote down that Alice Weidel asked Elon about his opinion or his solution about the Gaza conflict. Yeah, and this what I want to point out is that an upcoming leader or a candidate for the highest office should not ask another should not ask this person Elon about
Like for strategy or what to do.
yeah.
She's the one who's supposed to have the answer.
It should be an internal.
Like, isn't that why she's running? Like, who cares what his answer is? What's yours?
Yeah. Thank you. That's exactly it. What I want to point out. Thank you, Alice.
Did she like offer what she thought the solution was, or was she just capitulating to him?
She said she has no idea what
She
to do.
said she has no idea. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a question. I'm fascinated by this. So do Nazis of today still hate Jews? Like, they don't want Gaza to win, but they care about Israel? Like, how does that work?
They are teamed up with the far left in the fact that they can, share their anti-Semitic hatred, and you get their votes. And then after that, they're like, okay, yeah, you're brown. Go away.
Yeah, like, who do you hate more, the brown or the Jew? Like, that's like, I don't understand why they even. That's such a bizarre.
I think they don't even know themselves. Yeah.
People say that politics.
Uninformed people, which need someone to hate to feel good. Yeah.
And that area is like, ooh, we have so many people to hate. Which one do we hate? Like,
It's not even. It's misdirection. They've been told who to hate, because who they really should hate are the billionaires that have been stealing from all of us since the beginning of goddamn time. The wealthy have always been the wealthy, and anything that has changed that has been monumental or very, very bloody.
Well, culture wars are essential for people who, for lack of a better word, need grievance. They need you have to have grievance in order to have a personality. Like, your personality is literally wrapped up in your grievance. And
now Trump is like tied not only to fixing their grievance, but their identity.
It's the same with Farage
so it's hard in England,
and it's the same with Weidel in Germany. And imagine it was the same with Bologna in Italy. Just using fascist rhetoric, because fascism happens when capitalism gets hard, and for the first time we're having generations who aren't doing better than their parents. So it's a lot easier to say, are you better off 4 years ago? And then look to the past as opposed to look to the future with innovations and things like that. And of course, with the various weather events going on. You know, it's never climate change. No. It's conspiracy A through J, which is completely debunked each time, but it doesn't matter if you debunk it. You're just going to get the laugh react. But it's like you said earlier, there are these planned distractions. And one of the things that happened with Germany is there was a Christmas market attack. And the person who actually did the attacking was a supporter of the AfD. Mm-hmm. But they refused to let that little detail go out and said, they're like, he's brown. And
was
now,
he actually brown?
He was a gentleman who was of, I would probably say, Middle Eastern descent, but he was also a doctor. and anti-immigrant. But that doesn't matter because the AfD just used him as a poster child for why we need to end. There's thousands of people marching with these signs that say remigration. So that gave them their justification to push forward remigration for deportations. It's almost like Russia has said to all of the leaders who want to usher in fascism, you really, really need to focus on deportations. Like, there's nothing that really excites the right harder than deportations. And then also when I suppose the visa issue comes up, this is such an unexpected thing that they did not plan for.
These right-wing parties are very good at taking advantage of such situations and making them positive for their side to catch the people's vote.
Well, yeah, the typical low information voter is going to vote with where they see the most content. I hate to say it, but TikTok is absolutely flooded by the AfD when it comes to content. That all the other parties, you don't hear anything. They do not message. Like, if you think the Democrats suck at messaging, look at the SPD.
I searched politics, German politics, in YouTube, and guess what came up? AfD, 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 AfD. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is totally wrong. Yeah.
So your former prime minister, they kicked him out, or they
lost his vote
him,
of confidence.
Right? Yeah, that's what it was. So then, like, does that, they had like a coalition last time elections came around to stop the AfD from coming in. Do they realize maybe they should love each other again or are they like so far up their asses that
no, they did a lot of really horrible economic policy as the Ampel, the yellow, the red, and the green coalition. There was some really, really horrible economic policy that went down, and it fueled grievance. And then Russia decided to go ahead and fund one of those farmer tractor protests things like they did like in France and Canada, and you know what I mean, like the big mass disruption thing that's pretty much paid for by Russia. And then all the goobers are like, I'm going to get in on it because I get to be loud, and that's how the AfD really gets promoted.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a shame.
So
nobody has stopped this.
Yeah, so thanks to Elon, we we're going to be in the same boat as everybody else. So everyone's going to get what they vote for.
Well, we're going to get what the MAGA people voted for.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to get what they voted for.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of finding out. Deep joy. But the most important part is that we not distracted.
Yeah. We need to just keep pointing out and be just like grab their heads when they're looking at the shiny object and turn them, be like, no, sweet child, look over here. The billionaire is keeping you poor and working toward jobs.
Right.
Say it with me.
It's not the immigrants. They contribute to taxes.
Yes,
Billionaires
they do.
not. They get tax breaks.
Correct. Yeah. Like, pay attention now, everybody. Follow the bouncing duck. The billionaires are stealing all your money. You know?
Like, when you speak with, your academic groups, Allison, what is the way that you've been kind of framing the class war?
Well, see, that's just kind of a new thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. So, like, I'll tell you a story. This was back in COVID. I don't remember when, but I was definitely working from home. And before, lockdown started, one of the last topics we talked about in Faculty Senate, which is like a little shared governance body with most universities have them. One of the last meetings that we had, we talked about there needed to be a policy. Well, the university wanted the Faculty Senate to come up with a policy for bringing children on campus, not just faculty, but students. Because sometimes, like, I never cared if a student brought their kid to class. Like, I'd rather them come to class, bring your kid. And most of the time, the kid will just sit there coloring or do some, and then, go on. But it was becoming an issue of, like, liability and, all that. So they wanted us to come up with a policy. Well, fast forward 2 weeks later, and lockdown. And fast forward like 6 months later, Georgia is one of the first states to reopen, like get open. So that same policy that we had talked about had to change because it had to accommodate faculty and students bringing their kids to class because childcare wasn't readily available in Columbus because a lot of the daycares were first responder only. They had to cut down on who was there because of numbers and all that stuff. So it became like doctor, first responder only, or they had first priority. So it's very difficult to find daycare for kids. So, and faculty have a lot of flexibility because, just the nature of their job. They're not always in their office like I am. I'm a weird faculty. So anyway, so it was decided before lockdown that the women's issues committee was going to draft it and start working on it, right? So fast forward 6-9 months later, we're still in lockdown, and the draft goes out to every faculty senator, administration, everybody who's involved with it. And I returned my email to like 250 emails of this long email chain of people replying all to the Women's Issues Committee about how they needed, like, why is it that the Women's Issues Committee is dealing with this? It affects men on campus too. And like everybody's responding, wanting to hear themselves talk about how this affects men too. And so I'm catching it towards the end, and I'm just like, you people are insane. So I respond to all, and I'm like, do we not remember that in March of 2020, they volunteered to draft it? Because it affects mostly women. Of course it affects men too. But and I linked all the Department of Labor, the Department of the economic survey that they do about how women are leaving the workforce because of children. And so I academically linked it. And I'm just like, thank you, Women's Committee, for taking this on, and I'm sorry you had to get 250 emails about this. So thank you for bearing with that story. My point is that academics and people in my field often like to hear themselves talk, and they want to sound smart because other people want to sound smart and they want to be the smartest in the room. But you know what? Shut the fuck up. And so that's how I've been, like, when it comes down to like academics, of course that's not what I'm saying to my colleagues. I'm not saying shut the fuck up. But with my email, I silenced that because like it was crickets afterwards. Crickets. And one of my friends, at the library, another librarian was like, wow, you shut that down. I was like, oh shit, was it rude? She's like, no, the emails were ridiculous. Like all the faculty senate getting these emails, the president of the university down to it was just absurd. So what I was trying to communicate in producer's corner was that messages have to be tailored to who you're talking to, and how Tony sounds is not going to work with my group, and how I talk isn't going to work with everyone in Tony's group, and so on and so on. But the message has to be the same in the end. And it boils down to, if you don't want to, if you don't realize by now that we have to, we lost the election. So what we did didn't work. And
our messaging was dreadful.
And you know what? It seemed legit at the time. I'm one of them. I'm at fault too.
Hindsight is 2020.
But and so when academics are questioning me, like that one post that I did on Substack with that woman who's just doing this paragraphs of paragraphs. It's great that you want to use big words. It's great. You can talk and say whatever you want. It's a free country for now. But if you're going to do election,
one caveat. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you're going to do election messaging or attempt to meet, try to, even if it's not formal election messaging, you can't talk like that to people. You have to realize people, what you think is not easy to grasp isn't either people don't care about it, or they don't view it as they view it abstractly. Well, they have no reference point for it.
It's like we were talking about the moment that you add ISM to any word, you kind of lose an instant amount of the population in general. And because of that, I'm curious, Benny, with the messaging that you've been seeing with the AfD, every time that the word fascism or anything is mentioned, it's just shrugged off. You're muted.
Thank you. They are smart and can avoid it, or just do not answer and let the time go by. So, and the media accepts it, or they try to ask a few times more, but yeah,
they're not just prepared to just call them liars.
Say it again.
I said they're not prepared to just be like, no, you're lying.
Yeah, that's the fault of the media. Yeah, that they do not go so far.
They don't press back enough. They're just too goddamn polite to liars.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you caught?
I caught as well that Alice Weidel said she doesn't want to be surrounded by yes men and want to argue with them and find solutions. But guess what she always did when Elon mentioned something? She was a yes woman.
Yeah, she immediately capitulated to whatever idea. Probably because in the same way that he bought Trump's campaign, he bought hers.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Interesting. So she's another useful idiot. She has no ideas of her own. She admitted as much.
But she's LGBTQ, so she's a token that will get spent.
She's
really?
She's a token useful idiot. Good for her.
She will be spent, just like tokens get spent. Like,
talk to Byron Donalds about that one.
I want out.
Mm-hmm.
I want out of this timeline. Who invented the quantum jumper so we can jump dimensions?
The flux capacitor needs to start fluxing.
Why aren't you guys on this? Use your letter math skills.
We went from nightmare timeline to batshit timeline. Can we just go back to nightmare? That's really more comfortable. We had it figured out, kinda.
Kinda, but I suppose never apologize for being born a dragon slayer in a time of dragons. Anything from the chat? I haven't been paying attention.
I didn't have it open. I forgot about it. I'm still a little foggy from my cold.
Let's see here. Who we got in there?
A couple people in there. JoJo's in there. We got Tiki Tony said hi. Amethyst Peony. Gottfried's in there. Cynthia. AAA in the house. Who else we got? I think that's...
All right. Well, thanks everybody so much for showing up. It was to our friend Tony who's out there. He's one of those heroes that don't wear capes because he's fixing lines that got destroyed from ice. So we need to put our love and mojo out there and make sure he stays safe on the job. Are there any questions in the chat? I see this comment that says from Amethyst that people used to complain over the fence with their neighbor. Now it's anonymous online. People say things they would not say face to face. That's 100% absolutely true because, well, being beat up is a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
There's some people that have no problem saying the messy thing face to face. Do you guys want to hear a quick fun story about Trump's fun pick to be the Swedish ambassador?
Lay it on us.
This bitch. Okay, listen. Look, bitch.
This bitch.
Look, listen. Look and listen. Okay, so back in 2019 and 2020, Congress repeatedly, or I should say the Senate, delayed or denied this woman the appointment to be his ambassador to Malta because of her batshittery and her lack of qualifications. So now that he's going into a second term, he was like, well, tell you what, we'll just push her through to Sweden. They won't remember her from last time. And plus he now has, Congress, so why the fuck not? Now here's the thing. Little Miss Christine Olsen has been busy, mostly chasing down the doctor of her now ex-husband because she blames the doctor, who helped her husband through a stroke, by the way, for the end of her marriage. Now, she got a restraining order put against her by the doctor after calling him several times and then showing up to his work, waiting around in the lobby, and then busting through the lobby. Just back to his office, and then decided to leave a little calling card on his chair in front of his desk. Do you know what she left him?
Poo?
Oh, God, what?
It was one of those big posters with the outline of the body that you take to the shooting range, and it had 25 bullet holes in it.
What, is 25 significant?
I don't know, but I feel like that's not the right thing to put on the doctor's seat of your now ex-husband in the middle of a messy divorce. Like, girls,
so
now therapy.
Yeah. Now she's the ambassador to Sweden.
She's gonna be our ambassador to Sweden, and thank God, because she has such a calm demeanor and rational thought and creative problem solving.
But she was able to play the victim enough to avoid legal accountability.
Yeah. I mean, she got a restraining order put against her. I mean, that's something. Guys, it's going to be nuts, and I'm sorry. So hang with us the next 4 years. We'll keep you sane,
just keep hanging out and
just come hold our hands.
Just let music and art be the oracle for the next 4 years, everybody. That's my best advice, because it's going to be crazy, but if you surround yourself with good crazy, bad crazy can't affect you. Well, I think with that being said, that concludes episode 35 of the Bar of DeMOCKracy. Man, we're getting up there. We have over an entire month's worth of content you can watch. Astounding. And as usual, if you do give a good goddamn about your democracy, make sure that you watch Tony Michaels every single day. And with that being said, we will see you crazy kids later.
Bye, friends.